So, you have a vision, a great idea that you think is perfect for your church to attract new people and stimulate growth. But the idea will mean change, and people hate change. And they're not afraid to tell you why your idea will not work. They'll say things like, "That's impossible. You must be kidding." "Well, we've never done it that way before." "No, a previous pastor tried it and it didn't work." Things are just fine the way they are. People will resist. They'll gossip, they'll sabotage, and complain. And then they'll blame you. So what will you do? Is change worth all that pressure? Well, hi, my name is Jim Van Yperen, and I welcome you to the second of 3 webinars we've created specifically for church leaders. In this video, we'll examine the 3 most common reasons why people resist change, and what you can do to anticipate, prevent, and reconcile the conflict that springs from change. Conflict is a topic we know something about. For the past 23 years, Metanoia Ministries has served more than 90 conflicted churches in 40 different denominations. We've seen a lot of stuff. We've seen how leaders fail and make mistakes, and we've made our share as well. But now we're incorporating all that we've learned into a comprehensive new training for church leadership teams. It's called Flourish, a 10-stage pathway for leading dynamic growth in your church. We'll be launching Flourish in New England this January. But I'm aware that you may not know much about who we are or what we do, so we wanted to give you a taste of Flourish now with free webinars. The first webinar was about the nature of change. In it, we explored 5 principles for how God has ordered creation for change and growth. Now, if you haven't watched that video, I encourage you to stop this now and go there, watch it, and then return to this webinar. In the first video, we reviewed how the church is a living organism, not a machine, and how that makes a big difference in how we lead. You see, while it is the nature of all living organisms to change, it's also the nature of people to resist change. So how do you lead people where they do not want to go? Well, you begin where all good leadership begins, by listening, acknowledging concerns, and creating a pathway to address each concern with understanding and empathy, then inviting people to join you on the journey. But all of that takes time and is much easier said than done. In fact, there's something called the adoption curve that predicts how and when a group of people will respond to change. The adoption curve looks something like this. There are innovators who join when it's new. There are early adopters that join when they see a benefit. There are early majority, and they join when things are going well. And then people who are late majority join when they fear they're missing out, and then there are the laggards. Those are people who will only join when they have to. Well, all of these are stages for change. We'll explore the adoption curve in much more depth later as part of the Flourish Pathway training. For now, let's return to that great idea you had for change, to note that 75% of your congregation will likely resist your idea. Sorry to bring that news to you, but it's important for you to know. Because if you're going to lead well, you will need to be prepared, starting with knowing why people resist change. Here are the 3 most common reasons people resist change and why churches blow up when they're not understood. Number 1, fear. The number 1 reason people resist change is fear. They're afraid of the unknown, of uncertainty, or confusion. They are afraid of disruption to their comfort and routine. They're afraid of failure. People are afraid of what they do not know. In fact, people will prefer the pain and dysfunction that they know more than the risk of a promise they don't know. But there is a sure remedy for fear: love. There is no fear in love, John writes, but perfect love casts out fear. You see, change is a journey that includes some fear, so acknowledge it and then invite people to join you as a way of trusting, following, and loving God. Number 2, loss. The word change is a backward-looking word, from something that once was, but now is threatened or lost. That was can be good or bad, but people tend to remember the past as better than it actually was, even when the past was very bad. Change evokes fond memories and longings and grief that those days are gone. The older people are, the more loss they've experienced and grief endured. To these people and others, change feels like a hammer on their heart, the pain of one more loss, a pain you need to understand. For example, let's say you want to stop your midweek prayer meeting because so few people attend and create small groups instead. But before you make this change, you might want to consider what midweek prayer meeting means to people and has meant for as long as the church has existed. Because to these people, taking away prayer meeting may sound like you're taking away prayer or taking away their church and forcing them to go to a stranger's house to be with people they don't know and eat cookies rather than pray, instead of sitting with their friends as they always have in the sanctuary where I've always sat to pray. It might sound silly to you, but these are real concerns based upon how God has become life to people in your church for many years. So before you make the change, think about the people who will be affected. And remember, whatever you take away, you must replace with some dynamic equivalent, or your change, and maybe you, will be rejected. This doesn't mean that you cannot make changes. Every church must change to grow. But change means understanding the emotional and spiritual loss that the change will bring and making sure you minister to that need. Third, distrust. So far, we've talked about the natural thoughts and common feelings people have toward any change. But sometimes people are not resisting change as much as they are resisting you or the way you are leading change. It's about trust, or rather, the lack of trust. Sometimes distrust is as simple as people not knowing who you are or your leaders are. Or perhaps people don't trust what you say or don't say. Now, our experience is that there's usually a good reason for this, and it must be addressed, maybe even confessed, before attempting any change process. Sometimes people just don't agree with you. You mean we've been doing it wrong all these years? Or people don't trust your motivation, like wondering, what is the real agenda? What's really going on here? Or some people may not trust your church leaders. They question if you've done your homework or thought through all the implications of what a change would mean. Or maybe doubt your skills to implement the change. Or worse, people might see you as trying to coerce the change, trying to push your agenda through without a vote or input. Or maybe people know that not all your leaders are in support of the change. Sometimes sabotage comes from within. Whatever the reason, without trust, you cannot lead, unless the change you're making is you, by starting over and taking steps to earn and restore the trust. So, these are the 3 primary reasons why people resist change. Fear. How will you identify and address the real and perceived fears in your church? Loss. What is your change taking away that may be replaced with some dynamic equivalent? Distrust. Does your congregation trust the competency and compassion of leaders? In the end, people do not resist change because they disagree with your idea. They resist change because they do not believe you have listened to their concerns or addressed them thoughtfully. People will follow you into change if they trust that you are listening, you really care about them, and you have their best interests in mind. So, now that you know the 3 primary reasons why people resist change, perhaps you've heard something that is prompting you to change. Of course, this video is just a brief sample of important principles we will be exploring in the full Flourish pathway, beginning in New England on January 9th, 2016. Flourish is a comprehensive training in our 10-stage pathway for leading dynamic change in the church. The full training involves 3 full-day seminars, personal consulting with your leadership team, and at least 2 visits to your church. You must enroll at least 7 leaders from your church to participate, and we have room for only 7 churches. So, if you're serving a church in New England or know someone who is, please go to the Flourish 2016 part of our website for more information. And if you enjoyed this video, please help us spread the word by pressing the like button below and send me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. But there's still one more free webinar for you to see. The title of the 3rd video is The Sower Servant, How to Recruit and Equip the Right Leaders for Sowing Change in Your Church. Once again, this video is free, so please go to our website and check it out. You can view it any time that is convenient to you, but remember, these videos will only be available for a short time, so be sure to watch it soon. Thanks for watching this video. I'll see you next time.